Welcome to this week's virtual Drasha. This week we have the incredible privilege to read Parshas Vaeschanan. And in this parsha, like so much of Chumash Devarim, we see Moshe Rabbeinu, the trusted and beloved shepherd of Klal Yisrael, trying to convey so many important pieces, so many nuggets of information. Moshe Rabbeinu knows that he's not going to be there to lead Klal Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael. And so he feels that his job as the leader is to give over to them, to impart as many important life lessons as possible. So in this week's parasha, in Parak Dalet in chapter 4, the Torah begins, Moshe Rabbeinu begins, V'ata Yisrael, Shma el achukim b'ala mishpatim asher nochi melamed eschem. Moshe Rabbeinu says a general statement, but a general statement that the truth is a catch-all for Yiddishkeit. And now, Klal Yisrael, listen to the mitzvahs. Listen to the mitzvahs. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us mitzvahs not because He's looking to busy us with things. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us mitzvahs not because He's looking to put upon us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us mitzvahs because it is through the performance of the mitzvahs that we have the ability to self-actualize, through the performance of the mitzvahs that we have the ability to become the best version of ourselves. And Moshe Rabbeinu therefore says, listen to the mitzvahs. And if you listen to the commandments, ultimately you'll be great, you'll inherit the land, and you'll be able to seize your destiny. And then Moshe Rabbeinu goes on and he says, Einochem haraos es asher asa Hashem bebal pa'ar. Now here Moshe Rabbeinu does something very interesting that he does a number of times throughout Chumash Devarim. Warns us about idolatry. And that's because as we enter into the land of Israel, we're going to be subject to the influences of so many of the indigenous nations. So at first Moshe Rabbeinu says, listen to the mitzvahs. Do what I ask of you. Do what HaKadosh Baruch Hu asks of you. And be careful about the alien influences all around you. But it's the last pasuk in this aliyah that I want to draw your attention to. V'atem hadvekim b'Hashem Elokeichem chayim kulchem hayom. So literally translated, V'atem hadvekim b'Hashem Elokeichem, you who cling, those of you, Klal Yisrael, who cling, Dovuk, who cling to Hashem, chayim kulchem hayom. You are alive today. You are alive today. Now, on a most basic level, the importance of this pasuk is based on its juxtaposition. In the pasuk beforehand, Moshe Rabbeinu warned us, don't worship idolatry. Einechem haraos es asher asa Hashem bebal pa'ar. You saw what happened to those who worshipped Baal Pa'ar. This wasn't idolatry. The pasuk says, Ki kala ish asher halach acharei Baal Pa'ar. Anyone who followed after Baal Pa'ar, hishmido Hashem Elokecha. Hashem wiped them out. Okay, so that's piece of information number one. And then the pasuk right after it, but those of you, Vatem, Hadvekim, Hashem Elokeichem, those of you who cling to Hashem, Chaim Kulchem Hayom, you are alive today. So it's a contrast. It's a contrast. If you worship Baal Pa'ar, that's death. You've seen that. That's what happened, unfortunately, to members of Klal Yisrael who worship Baal Pa'ar. But those of you who choose to cling to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you will live. But the Talmidei HaBesht, the students of the Baal Shem Tov, say something incredibly amazing on this pasuk, and they say embedded in this phrase is not simply Moshe Rabbeinu warning us not to worship idolatry, but it's in fact Moshe Rabbeinu giving us the secret to successful, meaningful, and impactful living. Vatem hadvekim b'Hashem Elokeichem. What does it mean to be dovuk? You see, the Torah uses this word, Vatem hadvekim. Dvekim means to cling. In fact, the other time we find this word is in Chumash Bereshis, when Hashem creates Chava, and He talks to Adam about Chava, and He says, Al kin ya'azov ish es aviv ve'es imo. A man will leave his mother and father, v'davak be'ishto. He will cling to his wife. Devekos represents the highest level of connection. The same way that we hope that in a marriage, husband and wife are davok, they cling to each other. So ultimately we find this same word in the context of a relationship with Hashem. Vidavaktabo, the Torah tells us to cling to Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu says, Vatem hadvekim b'Hashem Elokeichem. It's not just enough to have a platonic relationship with God. It's not just enough to be friends. It's not just enough to get along with the Ribono Shel Olam. Devekos, a sense of connection, a sense of togetherness. Va'atem advekim. But isn't the $1 million question so great? I want this dvekos. I want to cling. How do I cling to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? How do I actualize this sense of dvekos? And the Talmidei HaBesht, the students of the Baal Shem Tov, say something so beautiful. V'atem hadvekim Hashem Elokeichem, If you want to be davuk, if you want to cling to Hashem, here's how you do it. Chayim kulchem hayom. Put the entirety of your life energy into hayom, into maximizing today. Chayim kulchem hayom. Maximize, live full life. Chayim kulchem, the entirety of your life, hayom, today. What does this mean? And what the Baal Shem Tov was teaching us is something so incredibly beautiful. We spend so much time worrying about what's going to be. So much time worrying about the future. And for those of us who have made some significant mistakes in the past, we spend so much time focusing on the past. So I'm worried about the future. I'm obsessing over the past. And in the midst of all of that, I forget to maximize the one thing I actually have control over. And that's Hayom. And that's today. And says Moshe Rabbeinu to Klal Yisrael, Vatem hadvekim b'Hashem Elokeichem. If you want devekos, if you want a sense of connection, if you want a sense of togetherness with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, how do you make that happen? How do you do that? Simple. Chaim kulchem hayom. Maximize today. Maximize today. Live the best today possible. Live the best life today possible. Madahava hava. What was. The past is the past. The only thing you could do with the past is you could learn from it. You can't change it. You can't alter it. You can't undo it. You can't take it back. You can learn from it and then move forward. The future, who knows what the future brings. In fact, we're going to see in the coming weeks that this is a theme that Moshe Rabbeinu goes over and over and over again, repeats and reinforces. And for Moshe Rabbeinu, you have to understand how important this was. Moshe Rabbeinu also thought he had a future. Moshe Rabbeinu thought his future was going to go into Eretz Yisrael. And again, whatever that meant for Moshe Rabbeinu, would he be the leader, not be the leader, whatever it was, I'm sure in Moshe Rabbeinu's mind, he had an entire vision of the future. And then in one moment, in one act, with the hitting of the rock instead of the striking of the rock, that entire future evaporates. Moshe Rabbeinu knows better than anyone. You cannot plan for the future. Of course, I say that a little bit, you have to plan a little bit for the future, but the idea is you can't be hyper-focused on the future because you never know exactly what's going to happen. The only thing we actually control in life is the here and now. The only thing we control in life is the hayom. And so what's my job as a Jew? Ultimately, again, to Chaim Kulchem Hayom. Chaim Kulchem Hayom. That's my mantra. Live life to the fullest today. Take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you. Take advantage of the moments that are in front of you. Maximize the Chaim, the life that is in front of you right now. Maximize the today. And a person ultimately who lives a life of Chaim Kulchem Hayom, of taking advantage of the opportunities of today, that's a person who lives a life of devekos. That's a person who lives a life ultimately of connection. Because if we think about it in our own lives, so often opportunities present themselves and we just let them go. And we let them go either because we're too busy perseverating over the past, or the truth is we say to ourselves, okay, whatever I don't get today, I'll get tomorrow, I'll get next week, I'll get next year, I'll get next decade. And so we end up letting so many beautiful possibilities and opportunities just slip right through our fingers. And we lose out on the ability to connect with Hashem because we're just not attentive enough to the present. Vatem hadvekim b'Hashem Elokeichem. Moshe Rabbeinu says, you want devekos, you want connection. Do you know what connection to God means? Connection to God means maximizing your present. Chaim kulchem hayom. What a message from Moshe Rabbeinu. And the truth is, what a message for Shabbos Nachamu as well. Because the truth is, we come off Tisha B'Av with so much pain, so much difficulty, a past that is filled with so much heartbreak, a future that we know is filled with so much light and so much beauty, the light of Mashiach, the light of Geula. We just don't know when. Every day I anticipate. So a heartbreak, a past of heartbreak and also beauty, a future of incredible potential grandeur, and a present that is yet unknown. Vatem hadvekim b'Hashem Elokeichem Chaim Kulchem Hayom. May we be zochem Yirtzeh Hashem to reach the highest levels of devekos, of connection with Hashem, through Chaim Kulchem Hayom, through maximizing our present, through maximizing today. Wishing everyone a good Erev Shabbos and a beautiful Shabbos Nachamu.